children are reported to child protection authorities, they tend to come back again and again. This repeated child protection involvement is referred to as recurrence. Recurrence is invasive, stressful and stigmatising for families, and it is expensive, especially if the families don't see any meaningful change. To date, research has focused on the differences between children who do recur and children who don't. So we know who recurs, but we do not yet understand how recurrence happens. And that makes it really difficult to know what to do about the problem. To understand how recurrence happens requires two shifts in our thinking. Firstly, child protection involvement is not just a function of the attributes of children, it is always an interaction between children and the decision maker. Secondly, child protection involvement is not an event, it is a process that is made up by a series of decisions. Looking at data from the child protection system in Queensland, I found that these decisions were made by different people with subtly different perspectives. Reports are usually made by police, health and education. Now these professionals do not want to miss a case of abuse, so they tend to report a lot. For a reporter, it is better to be safe than sorry. The officers who receive these reports are looking for genuine allegations of abuse amongst this huge volume of vague concerns and reports of poor but legal parenting practices. Now the investigators are actually less interested in whether the child's been abused or not. What they want to know is whether the child is at risk of harm in the future, so they tend to focus on risk factors and warning signs. And if intervention is required, the case manager has to decide when to close the case, and that usually depends on the family's compliance with their case plan. So recurrence happens when children consistently meet some of these earlier criteria, but consistently fail to meet some of the later criteria. If a child continuously raises the concern of their teacher or GP or police, but those concerns do not relate to abuse, or they do not display the outward signs of those risk factors, they will just be reported again and again and again without even getting close to receiving one of these services. Reducing child protection recurrence is therefore about aligning the priorities of those decision makers throughout the process. But that is easier said than done, because what is child protection for? Is it about being safe rather than sorry? Or are we just interested in allegations of genuine maltreatment? Are we trying to prevent harm in the future? Or are we interested in delivering services to the kids who need them right now? Now, of course, there is no single right answer to that question, but if we as a community can make that decision, then we can reduce recurrence. Thanks.